Ninja has released so many different blenders, but which one is best at its price point? I bought their top 5 blenders and I'll be putting them through a series of tests. Each blender will get a score for each test, and at the end we'll crown our overall winner. Starting with our simplest test, crushing ice cubes. I've got the same amount of ice cubes in each of these 5 bowls. Our first blender is gonna be the Foodie. Number 2 is the Detect. Number 3, the Mega. Number 4, the Smoothie. And number 5, the 1000. Now let's get the lids on all of these, get them all set up, and we'll get them crushing this ice. In terms of the time it took, all of these were incredibly fast, less than 5 seconds for all of them, so let's look into the consistency see if there's any difference. First up, the Foodie, and that is definitely nice and chopped ice. Looks pretty perfect. Although it's similar, I think the Detect did a slightly better job. It's a little bit of a smoother consistency afterwards. The Mega looks identical to the Detect to me. Again, very smooth consistency with this one. Here is the results from our Smoothie. I think this one looks a lot like the Foodie actually. Not as smooth as the other two, but definitely fairly chopped. And last up, our 1000. That's probably the least chopped ice of all of the 5 of them. So for our first test, I'm gonna give the Mega and the Detect 5 points for tying in first place, the Smoothie and the Foodie 3 points for tying in third place, and the 1000 1 point for getting last place. But now let's step up the difficulty and make a smoothie. For our smoothie recipe, we're gonna be starting each with 1 banana, half a cup of frozen pineapples, a cup of water, and about a cup of spinach. And now, of course, we're gonna see how well each of the blenders make this smoothie and how smooth they are. But I'm also gonna do a sound test while each of them is running the smoothie. So I'm gonna run a decibel meter and see how loud they compare. Starting with our Foodie. The Foodie peaked at 108 decibels. Let's move on to the Detect and see how loud that one is. And once we do a sound test for all of them, we'll of course check on the smoothies. So on to our Detect. The Detect peaked at 107 decibels, so literally 1 quieter than the Foodie. Onto the Mega. And the Mega was also back up at 108, tied with our Foodie for the loudest one. Onto the Smoothie. The Smoothie looks like it might have blended the best, but it was our loudest, which is our current test. That hit 110 decibels just briefly. And last up, our 1000. And the 1000 was actually the quietest. It peaked at 106 decibels, which means for this test, it gets 5 points. Our next quietest, the Detect, gets 4 points. The Foodie and the Mega tied next, and they both get 3 points. And our Smoothie gets 1 point. But probably more importantly is how blended are these smoothies? I'm gonna get them all poured into cups and we'll take a look. And you can definitely visually see some differences in each of these smoothies. Immediately, I think the Smoothie, ironically, made the best smoothie, but I'm also gonna taste it to see if I can actually tell the difference while I'm drinking. First up, the Foodie, and it tastes 100% smooth. I don't taste any sort of inconsistencies in that. Onto the Detect. A similar story there. It tastes 100% smooth. The Mega. And that one's still got some chunks in it, and it's super bubbly. The blender made it super airy, and it doesn't taste as good as the other smoothies as a result. Next up, the Smoothie. And that one also tastes pretty much 100% smooth. I will say it's a little bit weird. The Smoothie warmed up the ingredients in this one, so it's actually significantly warmer than all of the other 3 smoothies, which I'm gonna say is a downside. And last up, the 1000. And that one's not fully smooth either. It's not as chunky as the Mega, but I can taste a little bit of kind of particles inside of it, and it's also become super airy as well. So for this test, our 2 clear winners were the Foodie and the Detect. They both get 5 points. I'm gonna put the 1000 in third place and give it 3 points. Even though the Smoothie was warm, it did a good job of blending, so I'm gonna put it in 4th place and give it 2 points. And the Mega, I'm gonna have to put it in last for 1 point. But now onto our most difficult test. Let's make nut butter in each of them. Now to make the nut butter, I'm only gonna use almonds and salt. No oils, no water, nothing else like that. And I've already measured out about a cup of of almonds and a teaspoon or 2 of salt in each. Let's get them into our blenders. And now I'll turn them all on and see which one's the winner. I spent the last 20 minutes blending each of these, scraping down the sides, blending over and over about 5-6 times each, and unfortunately, none of them fully turned into nut butter. I will say the smoothie was the closest. It's got a little bit of a smooth consistency, but none of them are there. So to make it fair, I'm gonna add 1 tablespoon of olive oil to all of them, and let's see how the results come after that. Hopefully we can actually get some nut butter. Now, I can't recommend that you guys actually go through the process of making this nut butter because, man, that took a long time for every single one of the blenders. But we do have some results, so let's do some taste tests. First up, our nut butter from our foodie. And I took all of them out of the blender and kind of finished making the paste part of it itself. All of them are a little bit crumbly still from the butter, but at least it looks good now. Let's try the foodie one. Here's that paste on the spoon. Taste test. So dry. Now it came out super dry, but it is a smooth consistency. I don't taste the grains of the almond in it. Let's compare to number 2, the Detect. Here we go. Still really dry, but a little bit less dry than the foodie, and still 100% of a smooth consistency. Next up, the Mega, which definitely doesn't look as smooth right away. And even on the spoon here, this looks really crumbly. And it is exactly that. This just tastes like crushed up almonds. I'm still getting chunks of almond in this, which honestly, it tastes good, but it's not what we're looking for. Next up, the smoothie. I think that's actually our best one so far. It's the least dry of all of them, a smooth consistency and really good flavor. And last up, the 1000, which looks like it's probably gonna be crumbly again, but let's taste it. Definitely crumbly on the spoon. And definitely crumbly in my mouth as well. Not as chunky as the Mega. It did a little bit of a better job than that one, but definitely not even close to the other 3. So in terms of nut butter, our smoothie was the overall winner and gets 5 points. The Detect came in second at 4 points, the foodie at third at 3 points, the 1000 in second for 2 points, and the Mega is in last at 1 point. Now, potentially the most important metric on the chart is how do they rank in terms of price? Now, all of these have discounted prices on Amazon. I'm gonna use their non-discounted prices, their retail prices before I see any of the discounts to put these in order, because I think that's probably most fair. So our cheapest blender here is going to be the 1000. It comes in at $100 and it gets 5 points for that. Our smoothie comes in second at $120 and gets 4 points. Our Mega is third in price at $200 for 3 points. The Detect is fourth in price at $230, gets 2 points. And our foodie is the most expensive at $240 and gets 1 point. Now, before I crown the winner, one more piece of information. A lot of these blenders here came with other things in their packaging. For example, the Detect comes with a food processor, which I think helps it justify its price point. The Mega actually comes with attachments for processing and chopping, things like that as well. The foodie comes with a smoothie bowl maker as well, and so on. However, through our test and fair comparison today, the Detect was clearly our winner. It was at the top of nearly every test, with price being the only negative factor, but like I said, it comes with a food processor, which I think helps its case even more. So congratulations to the Ninja Detect, you won our blender showdown. Now, if you guys wanna see me figure out which food processor is the best one, I'm talking mini food processors, click this video right here. You're gonna be surprised at which one won that test.